Want to get faster at 2x2 and average sub 5? Ortega is a 3-step intermediate method for 2x2, with the first step being making your first face. If you already know how to solve a 2x2, you've done this step plenty of times before. You don't necessarily need to solve the face entirely like this. You can have it looking like this, or this. I'll do a couple of example solves at the end of the video to show some more examples on how you can make your first face. Once you've made your face and have it at the bottom layer, the second step in Ortega is called OLL, which stands for Orient Last Layer. This step gets all the colors of the last layer oriented similar to 3x3. So something like this, where we have all the top colors oriented on the top layer. For this step, it doesn't matter how you hold the bottom layer. So if we have something like this on the bottom, it doesn't matter if you hold it like this, or from here, or here, or here. And for your reference, we'll be doing these 7 OLO algorithms on the yellow face. If you have one solved color pointing up and hold it on the bottom left and see that the color of the last layer of this piece is pointing towards you, this is called a soon, and you hold it in the same orientation and do this. Similar to the soon, we have one soft color pointing up, and if you hold it on the bottom left, we'll see that this piece's top color is pointing to the right. And so if this is the case, this is called an anti-soon, and we'll hold it such that the soft color is on the top left, and we'll do this. If you have no color solved on the last layer and have 2 pairs of headlights, which are pairs that point in the same direction, so we have this pair pointing to the right, this pair pointing to the left. This is an H case. You want one pair facing you, and you'll do this. If you have no color solved on the last layer and have one pair of headlights with the other pair pointing outwards from each other, this is your pi case. You want the pair of headlights to be pointing to the left, and you'll do this. If you have 2 colors solved on the last layer and they are next to each other with a pair of headlights, this is your U case. You want the headlights to be on the left, and you'll do this. Similar to the U case, we have 2 solved colors on the last layer, but instead of headlights, we have the 2 remaining colors pointing opposite from each other. And so if this is the case, this is called a T case, and we'll hold it such that the 2 unsolved colors are on the left, and you'll do this. For an L case, we have 2 of the solved colors on the last layer diagonal from each other, and we'll hold it such that this unsolved corner is pointing towards you, and this unsolved corner is pointing to the right. And so if you hold it in this orientation, you'll do this. And of course, if you have all 4 colors solved, then you've skipped this step. Once the last layer is oriented, the last step of Ortega is PBL, which stands for permute both layers, which basically means solve the cube. You only need 4 algorithms for this step. If you have a solved bottom layer, and for the top you have a bar, this is just your standard T-perm or J-perm, as in 3x3. For both cases, you want the bar pointing on the left, but for me, I prefer using the J-perm algorithm, which goes like this. If you have a solved layer on the bottom and opposites around the top layer of the cube, this is just your standard Y-perm, like in 3x3. So you can hold the top layer however you want and do this. Now if you have a solved layer on the top, but on the bottom there's a bar, I would just flip the cube upside down and then just do your standard T-perm or J-perm with the bar facing the left. And same thing with the Y-perm on the bottom, so solved layer on the top and opposites on the bottom. Just flip the cube upside down and do your Y-perm. For this case, if we have a bar on the top and another bar on the bottom layer, we want both of the bars to be on top of each other, and then do this algorithm. If we have a bar on the top layer and opposites on the bottom layer, we want the bar to be facing you, and then do this algorithm. So for this one, same case as before, but inverted. So we have a bar on the bottom layer this time and opposites on the top. And if this is the case, you can just flip it so that the bar shows up on top and opposites on the bottom layer, and then just do the algorithm from before. If you have opposites on the top layer as well as the bottom layer, all you need to do are just 3 moves. It's not really an algorithm. It's just that. And of course, if you have a solved layer on the bottom and a solved layer on the top, you solve the cube and skip the step. All right, let's do a couple of Ortega example solves to piece it all together. So here's the first scramble. Typically with Ortega, you just want to find a color to make an easy first face. So here we have 3/4 of a layer on blue and 3/4 of a layer on red as well. So for me, I would just make my face on either blue or red. It doesn't really matter which color you choose at this stage. So for example, if I wanted to make my face on red, this is the remaining piece. I can easily insert this piece like so to make a red face. Say if I wanted to make my face on blue instead of inserting this remaining blue piece like so, that's a lot of moves. It still gets the piece inserted, but that's still a lot of moves. Instead of doing that, you can bring one piece from the bottom layer up to the top layer so that it aligns and pairs up with the remaining piece. And when you bring it all back down, it makes your blue face. So that's a neat way to make your face if you have a case like that. And so on to the next step with this blue face. So since we made our face on blue, the opposite color of blue is green. So we want to track the pieces on the top layer that are green here. So one solved color on the top layer here. And when we put it on the bottom left, we see that this green piece is pointing towards us. And so this is our soon case. And then bar on top, and then bar on bottom as well. Put them on top of each other, and then do the algorithm while these 2 bars are facing you. And then let's just continue with the red face. Just to give another example, so opposite of red is orange. So one pair of headlights of orange and 2 solved pieces of orange on the top layer here that are next to each other. So this is our U case. And then on the top layer, we have a bar, and then bottom layer, opposites all around the cube. So execute the PBL algorithm for this, like that. Here's another example. Got a whole bunch of bars in this scramble, which are nice since we can build off of them to make our first face, but we want to try to find a color that's easiest to make our face. So for example, here's blue, right? We have a blue bar. We can pair these 2 up like so. It doesn't affect our blue bar here, and it makes another blue bar here so that we can just bring this bar down to make our blue face. And then we made our blue face, so OLL color is going to be green. And again, one solved color here. This piece's green color is pointing us. So this is our soon. and then bar on top, and another bar on the bottom. So we put them on top of each other and do the algorithm. Last example here. So here's one that's not ideal since we have no bars at all in this scramble. So in this case, I would just pick a color that you can pair up easily to make your first bar and then just go from there. So for example, I see that we can pair these two blue pieces up like so. So we made our first blue bar here and then just go and make the rest of the blue face. So I can bring this down to make 3/4 of a blue face like so, and then the remaining blue pieces here, and it's pointing up, so we can use the trick that I mentioned earlier by pairing this piece up with one of the pieces on the bottom layer so that when we bring that piece up, it aligns and pairs up with the other blue piece, and then we bring it all down and it makes our blue face. And in doing so, we've also skipped the OLL step, and so we just have to recognize the PBL alg that we need to execute. So we have a bar on top and then a bar on the bottom. So we bring them together, put them on top of each other while they're facing you, and then do the algorithm. So that was nice. You now know how to solve a 2x2 using Ortega. It has a lot of potential, and you can easily get sub 5 solves with some practice.